what you were talking about going into. Let's go. Let's rock.
Yes, sir. Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of My Patriot Report Live. I am Ratwan Hill, the bridge connecting the next generation of federal contracting. And the gentleman next to me is the individual who is the first service disabled veteran owned small business national spokesperson, responsible for over 19 billion, 150 billion in other communities for helping the service disabled veteran owned small business community move the contracting needle from 750 million well north to 19 billion. That is, and also the president of the elite SDVOSB network, Mr. Walter Cotton III. Mr. Cotton, how's it going, man? How was the weekend?
I had a great weekend, and walked outside today and didn't need a coat in New York. It was robin sitting on my lawn, so
Uh-huh.
spring is in the air.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's good to hear, man. This stuff with Iran, it's I was watching a video, and they were talking about how Iran used something called white phosphorus to attack some people, and that went against pretty much was it the humanitarian rights and humanitarian laws?
That would be definitely a violation of humanitarian laws and the Geneva Convention and everything. But as it relates to what's going on in Iran right now, uh, we have such a effort afoot to control the narrative there that it's difficult to know what's a deep fake and
Yeah,
what's real, right? We have our friends out of Beijing that have a strong interest in controlling the American people's position and mindset on how we look at what America is doing on a world stage. You have a similar interest in Russia, right? Of trying to control the opinion of the American people, and you have Anthropic and AI, and its ability to create these very compelling videos and deep fake pieces, so that you think you're watching a newscast until you see a glitch in the thing. It's like, hey, wait a second, now that ain't real, or like that bull didn't just jump out of the stable and save the child. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and so the point that I'm making is that in this season, right, it's critical for you to study yourself approved, right? For you to know that the information that you're watching is real, because so many competing forces have an interest in you believing what they want you to believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so on that note, how how do you juxtapose real from fake? Because maybe you know uh, the older individuals who maybe not so familiar, even the neophytes who don't understand AI, that could easily see something and be easily be manipulated to believe that that's real. How can they juxtapose what's real or fake, or is it just you having to have a trained eye and being able to say, "Wait a minute, that don't look right"? Like, what's a reliable way to juxtapose what's real from what's AI?
Well, in a digital world, um, you can't. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Once you get outside of this, real world, right? Into the digital environment, you're at the mercy of the algorithm. You're at the mercy of the programmer. You're at the mercy of the system. And believing you have the ability to control that is the illusion.
Mm, mm,
There is a good positive side of that equation, and that is you have a digital equivalent.
yeah.
And
Digital
if you
twin.
learn how to interface authentically with yourself, you can interface and influence the digital environment.
Hmm. Changing the way you look at things.
The things that you look at will change,
Yes,
right?
sir.
We're not slaves and victims to this environment as much as the powers that be would want you to think, right? We have the ability to self-determine, to choose, and that's why I'm advocating that we uh, incentivize this "We the People" movement, right? Because quite candidly, everything that you are aware of first started as an idea, first started as a thought, right? And
Hmm.
the things that materialized because they became that thing. And what that thing is, an idea whose time has come, right? And
Hmm.
I think that we're in one of those critical inflection points now where there's a changing of the guard. There's a shift in the balance of power, right? It's an idea whose time has come, right? You look at the major powers right now, they're making missteps, right? They're making open errors that under yesterday's circumstance they didn't make those mistakes. It's like, wait a second, no, you got a tail.
Hmm.
Like you used to be able to hide that. You're not exactly human, right? And so we're at a point now where the balance of power is not resting on people that are running around in the dramedy, trying to get you to believe that they are their costumes. We're at a time when the humanity, when the core, the truth, the reality of it is starting to punch its way through to the surface. Yet I digress, because we're talking about
Yeah.
Patriot Report, we're talking about government contracting and the like, but I want to equally make sure that everyone that's within the sound of my voice, especially those that are part of my tribe, know we've always had the power.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you let's expand on that "We the People" movement. When people hear "We the People" movement, they usually think about elections or voting, but really, federal contracting represents one of the largest ways government exercise their authority. Is nearly $1 trillion a year in federal contracts. From your perspective, how does the idea of "We the People" connect to federal procurement and taxpayer spending?
Well, the way we the people connects to it is we have the ability to influence the policies and regulations that govern the contracting process, right? So just like on the legal side of the equation, where we have the ability to influence the legislated or elected officials and right get the right person in office so that they're promoting the laws, right? At the agency level, right? There's a process that they go through to put policies in place, right? It's called proposed ruling, right? Where they put information into the Federal Register that changes the code of federal regulations, right? The CFRs, right? And so, as an example, we the people have a need to keep a eye on what the SBA is doing in the area of small business contracting as it relates to the veteran empowerment effort that they have underway. And there's some information that's leaked out of the scorecard making process that suggests that the SBA is looking to increase the veteran owned contracting provision by more than 100%, right? Like an
Mhm.
outsized value for the veteran owned business community. And they're looking to utilize and leverage something that my friend Bill Elmore and I have been promoting, which is the special consideration authority that the secretary enjoys. Where we the people comes in that particular situation is that what we are potentially going to see, unfortunately, is a repeat of the era of the past. Okay, so work with me on this. Like, let me walk you down the road about the past just a little bit as it relates to veterans and contracting, right? Historically, when they passed Public Law 10650, they made an error. They made a faux pas. The faux pas was they passed 10650 and created that 3% contracting goal for veterans, but they didn't give the contracting officers the tools that they needed in order to get to the veterans. So that law languished, right, as an approved statute that couldn't be used because in the acquisition arena, the federal acquisition regulation is the Bible. And the contracting officers feel if it's not in the Bible, we can't do it. Along comes Public Law 108-183, right, which is the legislation that we use to correct the problem. It was within that legislation that we gave the contracting officers the sole source contracting authority, the set aside authority. We gave them the tools that they needed to execute against the statutory goal. Allow me to connect the dots for you and correlate that action to what we're seeing about the Telegraph scorecard that's coming out of SBA, because I believe that they're trying to do the right thing in utilizing their special consideration authority and the ability that the president has on an annual basis to set aside, to set the small business utilization goal. So they're trying to do the right thing. And so what they've done is they have increased the goal requirement of the SBA scorecard. And the expectation is that the agencies are going to respond to that. And I believe that that's possible. It's probable in the areas where they have an existing contracting program that they can use. Like in the service disabled veteran arena, there is a contracting program for service disabled veterans at all of the agencies. But in the veteran owned contracting arena, there has been a goal out there since time immemorial for veteran owned contracting numbers without a program any place but at the VA. So if I'm at the Department of State, I don't have a mechanism that I can use to set aside contracts for veteran owned small businesses. I have one for disabled veteran owned small businesses, but I don't have one for just veteran owned small businesses. And so, absent the correction of that error, right, what we have is a situation where there's either going to have to be a enormous increase in the utilization of the disabled veteran contracting authority or the creation of a veteran contracting authority in order to meet the goal. And that's an example of where we, the people, can intersect the process and correct the process. The question you may still be trying to answer is, well, Mr. Cotton, I hear you talk about the what, but how? Like, how do we intersect the process, right? If there's this like leak about the scorecard out there, how do we intersect the process? Well, there's also a recent announcement of the fact that the SBA just indicated that they are about to put a proposed ruling on the street for fraud, waste, and abuse, right? Sam Lee just did a big, piece on that proposed ruling that's going to hit the street, right? He telegraphed that they're about to put that proposed ruling on the street. When that proposed ruling hits the streets, right, just like an unsolicited proposal in contracting, we, the people, have the ability to make comments into the agency that causes them to take action. If you think what I'm telling you doesn't make sense or it doesn't work, just take a look back at what happened when the VA secretary tried to change the way our rating would be performed under medication, right? That proposed ruling that the VA secretary put out, where he said, well, if your modality is made better by medication, we can reduce it, right? The veteran community, we the people, raised their voice en masse, and overnight they not only rescinded or paused that ruling, they rescinded it. So what I'm putting you up on game, we the people, is what we can do in this situation, right? It looks like the administrator at the SBA is trying to do the right thing, but she's making an error. Trust me on this. I'm the Wayne Gretzky of GovCon. This is what's about to happen, right? And so when that scorecard hits and these agencies realize, hey, we don't have a way to get at the veterans, they're going to try to increase the disabled veteran contracting number to meet the goal. I'm a disabled veteran, so I win on this one, right? I should be quiet, but I'm not, because my fraternity members that are still in BDUs and boots deserve the ability to help America reshore its industrial base, solve its challenge, right? So I'm saying to my fellow veterans, right, to my fellow patriots, watch this action. And when that proposed ruling comes out of the SBA, we need to jump on it. We need to jump on it with proactive comments that say, okay, this is what we want to help you do as it relates to fraud, waste, and abuse and joint venturing. But in addition to that, right, this area that you made a misstep in on the scorecard, correct that.
So when we're looking at this, this pretty much essentially giving the service disabled veterans this is giving the indicator to the veteran community as a whole to back what you said, that America wants its veterans to be rich, and this is just another indicator.
You got to be Ray Charles not to see these indicators, man. I mean, for real,
yeah.
Right? You know, there's this dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion that's taken MWBEs and ethnically based contractors and moving them to the side, right? While at the same time, our veteran community is being thrusted to the forefront as the safe harbor. The percentage of contracts that the agencies can do with the disabled veteran business community is being increased. The far rewrite showed love and favor to the disabled veterans as it relates to the once 8A, always 8A ruling, where they said you can now take contracts out of the 8A program as long as you re-award it to an existing preference program, right? And the safe harbor is who? The disabled veterans, right? So if you got an 8A contract that gets wink, wink suspended as a result of this disruption, and you're looking for a place to award that contract, you're looking for a place to move it for mission continuation, it's the service disabled veteran community. And so if you're a disabled veteran, right, and you're already in the government contracting arena, man, you have the opportunity to write your own ticket if you can learn how to become a bigger small business. That's a subject for another arena. But if you're a veteran sitting at home that's looking at the propellers of AI, right, that's eating your industry, that's right, about to put you in the unemployment line, this is your season to recognize that you got a superpower, man. You got a superpower in the form of your disabled veteran or your service to these United States that you can use to help the government with the hard problem we're experiencing as it relates to reshoring our manufacturing assets, reindustrializing our nation. So you need to get off the sideline and figure out how you utilize that benefit to create generational wealth for your family.
When you mentioned the benefit, what benefit are you talking about exactly?
Well, the one that first comes to mind for me is the VR&E benefit, right? And the VR, that's the vocational readiness and employment. How does vocational rehabilitation?
Yeah, it used to be that. Then they changed it to veteran readiness and employment.
So it's the veteran readiness and employment program or benefit, and I know that benefit so well because I'm a disabled veteran, and when I got out of service after 3 years in, I thought my career was ended, my life was over. I learned that my injury, because of my service to this nation, gave me access to this benefit where the government would pay for me to get an education, to retool my skill set so that I could self-determine, right? And earn and meaningfully participate in the American dream. And so I went down that path and, got my degree. That's the one that we're talking about. I knew that that benefit had a self-employment track, but quite candidly, the culture within the program at that time was the same thing that it is now, right? They dissuaded me, a serial entrepreneur at that time, against utilizing the self-employment track because it was too risky, because it was a one and done, right? Because if I used my benefit down that track and it didn't work, oh, Mr. Cotton, and you're talking about a serial entrepreneur, right? And so the benefit that I'm talking about is a benefit where the Veterans Administration will give you support in your self-employment endeavors. They will help you start your business. They will provide you with funding support to get your business up and running and off the ground. And in some instances, depending on the way you structure the program, they'll help you buy the foundational inventory that you need for your business. So the one benefit we're talking about is the VR&E benefit. The other one that's available to you is the GI Bill, right? You can utilize your GI Bill for these purposes. But at the end of the day, the equation is still the same. America needs its veterans to come back into service to help us reshore, to help us shore up our economy. You have a benefit that you can use that allows you to dynamically engineer the wealth transfer you're looking for. That's it. That's all.
Yes, sir. And I wanted to see if you could expand on this, that the Honorable William Bill Elmore actually helped put together that self-employment track. Could you just tell us a little bit about the intentions behind that, and what was his vision versus what actually is happening in real time with that program?
Bill Elmore has been responsible for a number of enhancements for programs for veterans. He was the first assistant director of the Office of Business Programs in SBA, which was a position created out of Public Law 10650. And Bill explains in a video interview he and I did together, you may want to Google that, exactly what his thought and his philosophy was behind that VR&E self-employment contribution that he made. But at the end of the day, my understanding was, as is the case, he was called on a task force, or called to a task force by VA because of his position at SBA, and they were modifying or making changes to that VR&E program. And him being the disabled veteran contracting guy, he said, "Hey, what about the self-employment track?" And one thing led to another, and they created that a very, very robust self-employment track. It's wonderful, but again, going back to the we the people thing and how we have to be vigilant about these programs. Mr. Hill can tell you about how there was a ruling event that happened within the VR&E program that slipped through the process. And because we the people weren't, well, let me not steal your thunder, Mr. Hill. Tell us a little bit about how existing small businesses.
Yes, sir. So what Mr. Cotton's referring to is the counselor roulette ruling, essentially stating that if you beforehand, when you could go through the V&RE process and say that you got denied, or you didn't finish the you didn't go completely through it because of whatever reason, then essentially you could just reapply again and then probably and get a new counselor and then go through the process. Now in today's season that has stopped. So essentially it's like you get one shot. And if you don't and if you're not coming on your P's and Q's, I's dotted, T's crossed, and you get denied, now you gotta go through the formal appeal process. And anybody knows that appeal process with the VA is there's no time limit to when you'll get your your due service. But yeah, long story short, counselor roulette makes you pretty much give you one shot to get approved for VNRE, or else you have to go through a long process.
And at the end of the day, we have taken a position as it relates to VA and the VRE program,
Yep.
and that is, it makes more sense for us to work with that program, support that program's excellence, as opposed to fight against it. And so I have enrolled the leadership in the VA Health Benefits Office, and they have given us the green light to go ahead and break the barricade, to go ahead and create the program that allows veterans to more robustly take advantage of that VR&E benefit. And we've quantified that benefit on the low end of the equation to be $250 billion of appropriated but unutilized benefits for a portion of the community, and $1 trillion for the community at large. So let me say that another way, right? If you are a disabled veteran that has a 10% disability rating, there is a little bit over $1 trillion worth of appropriated but underutilized benefit that you can use to get your feces amalgamated and become responsible and responsive in the government contracting arena, where your nation needs you to come back into service to help us reshore. Am I preaching here, Mr. Hill? Am I preaching here?
You preach it to the choir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so what we need our servicemen and women to do is to join us in this 3P relationship, right? This is a public-private partnership where the agency is coming together with industry and coming together with the constituents to put a solution in place that makes America safe again. Makes America safe again. Let me say that again. Makes America safe again. So we need all of our servicemen and women, right, to trot on over to the Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network, run out to the Ability to Network, run over to Mr. Hill's email address, and find out how you can get in where you fit in.
Yes. And I also want to expand on that number. That is not a hyperbole or exaggeration. And that's calculated off of the bare minimum of $50,000 approval for your VNRE benefit. And that's not the ceiling. You just have to go through higher levels. So what we're telling you is not a number that is guessed. This is all factual and not hyperbole.
Well, and here's what we're going to do, Mr. Hill, is we're going to take a step back away from the third rail of trying to sell this to our community, right? Because we know that there are a little bit over 5 million veterans that are sitting on this particular latent benefit, right? We equally know that the VA is giving us first movers advantage to pilot a course, and we are selecting 60 veterans to be the first movers and take advantage of that course. So guess what? 5 million, 60. The first 60 veterans that are approved for the class are going to win big, because you all are going to do what the other veterans who enjoy that $350 billion worth of wealth transfer that we've already created enjoy. So in our first act, right, we were able to help the disabled veteran business community move the needle to well north of $19 billion, exceed the goal. in this act, we're going to help both our veteran-owned business community and our disabled veteran business community take advantage of that new 15%. When you guys get the report out of the new SBA goal, the new veteran goal is 15%. So we're going to help America achieve that goal fast, quick, and in a hurry. But you got to be counted amongst the number to take advantage of it. So holla at your boys.
Yes, sir. Like I said, follow the link, click the link, put the NY Elite SDVOSB.org, follow that link, sign up, email me, rhill@ability2.biz, and let's see how we can help you and all get some of the generational wealth. Until then, guys, I'm Retwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton III. Until next time, guys, we are out.